Our goal for this project is to raise awareness of human trafficking. We asked 5 people basic questions about human trafficking to test their knowledge about it. And here are their interviews. How do you define human trafficking?
Human trafficking is where people are forced to do sexual activities. That's the first thing that comes in my head. Sexual activities.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Human trafficking is an exploitation. A victim who is compelled through force, fraud, or coercion to perform acts of labor, including commercial sex, are all forms of human trafficking.
I would define human trafficking as people being sold and used for sexual pleasures of other people.
I think human trafficking is the buying and selling of people for sexual exploitation.
All right, how do you define human trafficking?
Human trafficking is when people, isn't it when they take other people from different states and things like that and they sell them into slavery?
Yeah, kind of. Human trafficking is an exploitation or a victim who has compelled through force, fraud, or coercion to perform acts of labor, including commercial sex.
So I guess I would define human trafficking as the illegal movement of people, but specifically like that illegal movement of people against their will. And I guess you could kind of compare it to kidnapping in a sort of way.
How many people do you think are trafficked in America?
Probably like 1 million.
Actually, in America, it's about 800,000 people. And across the world, there are over 40.3 million people who are victims of modern slavery and human trafficking. Most of the victims are women and girls. That's about 71%.
In America, I would guess that the number of people or of humans who are trafficked, I feel like that number would range definitely into the thousands, which I guess that's really astounding when I'm thinking about it now because that's a lot of people.
Oh man, I know it's a big problem in America, but I wouldn't have a real number. I would guess probably several thousand.
So I guess, anyone could be at risk, but I guess I would say that maybe women and children would be more at risk.
Who is at risk for human trafficking?
Probably kids, mostly.
Yeah, kids or teens that are in poverty, runaways, homeless, or have a problem with substance abuse, past childhood sexual abuse, or a lack of personal safety are all victims of human trafficking.
I think probably the main category of people at risk would be impoverished women.
Who is at risk for human trafficking?
I'd say probably young girls.
Young girls, yeah, that's pretty much right. Children or teens that are in poverty, runaways, homeless, substance abuse, children who have sexual abuse in younger years, and the lack of personal safety.
I believe that anybody's at risk from human trafficking. However, I feel like there's people in society that are more prone to it just because people are certain targets.
Different types. The main one would be sexual, I would assume, but child laborers, I'm not really sure.
I really didn't know there were different types. All I've ever really heard of is human trafficking and sexual trafficking.
What are the different types of human trafficking?
Sexual trafficking, maybe work, forced labor.
Yeah, that's exactly right. The 2 main types of human trafficking are sex trafficking and forced labor. And that's when somebody is being forced to do labor that they don't feel comfortable doing.
So I guess I didn't really know that there were different types, but if I had to guess what those types might be, it could maybe be international human trafficking or human trafficking within the country. Or maybe human trafficking among different demographics.
What are the different types of human trafficking?
Sex trafficking, slavery. Those are the only two I think I know.
Yeah, the main one is sex trafficking, but there's also forced labor trafficking. So if you force anybody to do something and that they may not be comfortable of doing, and you force them to do the job, then that's another type of human trafficking.
I've heard of nail salons and spas being different platforms, but also I believe there's a lot of opportunities in society, such as through social media.
What is the biggest platform for human trafficking?
The internet, probably.
Do you know what website?
Take a guess. Craigslist.
Actually, it's kind of like Craigslist, but it's called Backpage.com. Have you ever heard of it?
No.
Yeah, Backpage.com is the biggest platform for human trafficking, and it accounts for 73% of sex trafficking online. Backpage is aware what is going on, but they refuse to shut down their page because of how much money comes in from people who use it.
I would assume the biggest platform would be the internet because it's such an international trade, but I don't really, I wouldn't know how it worked because I know the government can track that sort of activity, so.
I feel as though human traffickers would probably use some sort of a legal platform, like an internet site, maybe something similar to like a dark web, eBay or Amazon kind of thing.
What is the biggest platform for human trafficking?
The internet?
The internet, do you know what website?
Facebook?
Facebook? No, it's actually Backpage.com. It is the biggest platform for human trafficking, and it accounts for 73% of sex trafficking online.
Wow.
Yeah, that's crazy. Backpage is aware what is going on their website, but they refuse to shut it down because their page makes so much money when people use it.
Over the course of this project, we interviewed 5 people, and we learned that they didn't know a lot about human trafficking. After they gave their answers, we informed them about the scary truth of human trafficking and what goes on around the world. We hope that we raise awareness and we can help prevent it in the future. Weeks after filming these interviews, Backpage was shut down on Friday, April 6th. After the FBI raided the co-founder of Backpage's home, this is a step in the right direction.